See, because they didn't have understanding. Now look, your parents, let's say that your parents were halfway decent. Many of us had parents who were halfway decent. They did what they could. But it wasn't good enough. Now why is that? Because they were trying they were meddling. They were trying to make things better. They were trying to build your character. They were trying to something. And they followed the tried and true path of sending you off to daycare and off to school and taught you to be ambitious, and they gave you a hard time, and they were angry, and then they felt guilty, and then they were too nice, and they spoiled you, and then they saw that, and then they were too harsh, and they just didn't get it right. So to get things perfectly right, you need God to get things perfectly right. Look at how he makes trees and flowers and everything, and it's perfect. He makes millions and billions of them, and they're all perfect, down to the smallest detail. So you do not realize that if you got your resentments out of the way. See, so what's blocking you now from God flowing through you? Well, first of all, you still think that by acquiring knowledge that you can solve your own problems without God. See, you're still playing God. So God won't solve your problems as long as you're playing God. You have to stop playing God and let him take over. But in order for him to take over, you have to find him. And you're not going to find him in a book. You're not going to find him in fancy, nice words, or in music, or in a building, or in somebody else's words, or in somebody else's teaching or preaching or writing or anything like that. You're not going to find him. You have to find him within. And to do that, you must learn to be still. There's something about moving about ambitiously. Maybe you know someone that rushes around meddling and doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that, and they a great deal of energy, and it's all they're majoring in what's that expression? Majoring in the minors, or they're making the trivial things important and the important things trivial. You get it all backwards. If you could just cease and desist from your strivings and your struggling and your rushing around, and if you could just be quiet, then you could get back in touch with your intuition, which is from God. God gives animals instinct. He gives humans intuition. And is how he communicates with people. He communicates by way of conscience. Yes, he does. He does communicate through, for example, the prophets. And he communicated by way of the cross. But for the most part, he communicates silently. You just know in your heart. There's a beautiful verse in the Bible, something about if you confess with your mouth that Christ was raised from the dead by God, that God raised Christ from the dead, and you believe it in your heart, then you will be saved. Do you understand? To believe in your heart is to know wordlessly, but intuitively. You don't even know how you know, you just know, and you believe it. That's how, see, God makes you to know.